Hi guys, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and this one is not going to be one of the typical videos. Lately I've been doing 5-10 minute video clips, trying to keep it short so as to stay within the parameters of what most people in YouTube like and such, keeping them short. The thing is, I've noticed that I just don't have enough time. When I start getting involved in one of the topics covered, I usually find out that I'm lacking a lot of time, and so because of that, in this video in particular, I'm gonna take all the time I feel I have to, take it as far as I have to on each sidetrack, on every little detail and such. So this one is gonna be one of those videos dedicated mostly for those of you guys that have been with me for a few years now, since the beginning, or following the blog and such, and you understand what I mean when I say that I sometimes simply have to sidetrack and spend the time to get into detail as much as I feel I have to. So this is gonna be a video regarding EDC and mindset. So it's gonna be the EDC that I'm gonna be showing is gonna be mostly an excuse so as to talk about different points and different topics that I feel aren't as well covered in general, and that I think people will benefit from. At least that's what I think. You'll eventually be the judge, and that's gonna be your call. But I just wanted to give you that warning that I'm gonna be taking as much time as I feel I have to, and I hope it's beneficial for you. Okay, well, so let's get started. Here I have what would be considered the triad of the essential everyday carry gear. Now, sometimes you may be wondering, why do I insist so much on EDC, on what you carry with you daily? Well, the thing is, sometimes when people talk about survival and preparedness, they concentrate on kits, or those small kits. I do them myself, the small little kits like the Altoid kits and such. Usually what's inside them is a poor excuse for these three. There's a poor excuse of a knife, there's a poor excuse of a flashlight, and there's usually some fire starting method. Fire steels are pretty good, but a lighter is usually quicker. Granted, this will lose its petrol, its oil much faster than any other source of fire. For example, a more typical lighter like this one, and a fire steel will not have this problem at all. So granted, a fire steel may be a more efficient fire starting method on the long run, but on general basis, when you need a flame right now, something like a lighter is going to be much more efficient, right? So as EDC gear, I consider that these would be the essential ones to carry. The triad of what's important for you to keep in your pockets would be a knife. Maybe not this knife, I don't carry this knife much anymore. Maybe not this lighter, I don't carry this lighter much anymore. The flashlight, yes, this is what I carry these days. But the concept of what is essential, what is essential in my opinion, not only for the typical bushcraft survival, but on daily basis in a city as well. A knife as a tool, a knife as a defensive weapon as well. Mostly as a tool, guys. Those of you that already carry a knife at all times know what I mean. You're always using it on daily basis. It's once you start using it, you understand this much better. The flashlight, same thing as well. Some people don't see much of a use in it, but the truth is that nearly 12 hours a day you are the sun is down and there's darkness, so you're always relying on our artificial lightning, right? It's important in that way as well to have a flashlight. Just a couple of years of days ago, I was writing in the computer, and lights went out. Having the flashlight with you, it's one of those things that make these little inconveniences much better. Much worse than a typical blackout or a power shortage is when you're away from your house, or you're in buildings you don't know, and suddenly light goes out. you're basically stuck in a place you don't know, in complete darkness, or pretty much complete darkness, having the flashlight with you, it's a great advantage. One like this one is also used for tactical purposes as well, but we'll get on that later on. Same thing for fire starting. Just, it's one of the basic skills to be able to start a fire when needed. So that's what I consider the basic triad. You can add to that later if we start adding up items. In modern day, you're not much of use without your wallet, without some money with you, your credit card. Even though we use mostly cash here, the advantage of having a credit card in the modern world is, maybe the most practical survival tool, just that little square piece of plastic. Your cell phone as well, and finally, where and when legal to carry your firearm. These would be what I consider the essential pieces of gear that you should never go without. Okay, at least that's the way I see it. Now, getting on a bit more detail on all these things, these days I am usually carrying the Spyderco Resilience, which is a great knife. This is actually my third Spyderco Resilience, because I lost a couple of them to friends, police officers that actually needed them more than I do. Down here in Argentina, police officers get paid very little. It's one of the worst paid jobs there is. So when you find, because there are good police officers here, in spite of the many bad ones we have, there are some very good people in the force. They do a terrific job within their resources, usually spending their own money on training because the state finances none of it, and at least none that is worth it. Keep in mind that an average Buenos Aires police officer, he shoots a total of 25 rounds in his entire training. They're so cheap on not giving them ammunition for training. Just 25 round, guys. Imagine the amount of skill you can get with 25 rounds for people that maybe never shot a gun in their life. It's really shameful that they have to spend their own money to get adequate training, spend their own money on ammunition so as to get proficient with their tool. It's one of those things that kind of upsets you, especially with the kind of crime we have down here in Argentina and in South America in general. So we were once practicing some disarm drills with this friend of mine, and in one occasion he asked me, do you have a knife with you? Yeah, sure I do. He said, okay, get it out. I had this one, or one similar to this one, in my pocket, got it out, and he showed me a disarm drill, and when the knife fell, it stuck on its tip in the foam mattress we were using for falling, and he was surprised by how sharp it is. Rarely you will find a police officer in Argentina that even knows what Spyderco and cold steel is. Those that do really appreciate that kind of quality, which is not that common in South America. Usually these knives cost twice as much as they do in USA, maybe 3 times as much. So when he was looking at it and complimenting it, I told him, you know what, you really need it more than I do, so it's yours, take it. It's one of those gifts that build up a friendship pretty fast. At least around here it does. So this is what I'm carrying lately. I usually also have the much bigger cold steel, the Vaquero Grande. This is similar to one that I've been carrying for over 14 years probably. The smaller version of the Vaquero, the one that is called El Hombre, which is discontinued many years now from cold steel. Well, that's what I've been carrying most of my life. When cold steel came up with the bigger ones, I moved forward to that one. But I'm really liking the Resilience. I think it's a great little knife. Yeah, it is little, guys, in my opinion. It's not a huge knife. I mean, I really don't get it when people complain and get all upset over half a quarter of an ounce and the size, and it's really small. I mean, this fits perfectly in your pocket jeans. in the pocket of your jeans. If you have one of the 511 tactical Tac Pro lights, this just disappears. Even this one isn't a problem carrying in one of those pants. I mean, I've carried this one in jeans as well. I mean, this is the knife that I've carried the most. I'm just recently carrying this one every now and then because it's practical, because it's nice. Mostly, you know what? It's the blade shape that I like. This other one is specifically for defensive purposes, right? The serrated edge and the shape of the blade makes it specifically for defensive purposes. If it was a straight edge, it would be more useful in other general purposes tasks, but in this configuration it's mostly a defensive weapon, right? This Spyderco instead still has a very nice blade shape. I don't know if you get to appreciate the thickness. This, guys, means that it's going to be creating a very broad wound channel deep when used for defensive purposes, right? As the blade goes in, it creates a wound channel that is of very generous proportions, right? This is going to be pretty effective. Some of the more stiletto type blades, they're not going to be cutting as many vessels and as much tissue and as much tendons or nerves or whatever is in its way as a broader blade. A blade that has a good penetrating tip and is still broad enough so as to cause a good amount of damage when used for defensive purposes, that's a good blade. A blade of this size, for example, a 6-inch blade, of course, by all means, especially with the sweep, when pulled out, when used even for slashing, this is going to be terribly effective. But this one, for its size, which again I consider it small, you know, 4-inch blade, I mean, folds perfectly well, fits in your pocket. What more do you want? You're gonna be complaining over every half a quarter of a ounce. I mean, maybe it's me, guys. Maybe it's me that I'm lacking some special weight sensor that I really don't give a damn between a quarter of an ounce, or, you know, makes no sense to me. What I focus mostly is the tool I'm carrying useful? Is it doing the job intended? Is it effective for the purposes that I want? I'm not going nuts over its weight. It's just the way it is. And I do carry a good amount of stuff, and I've been carrying it for many years now. I just don't get it. Getting nuts over what weights more or less, and, you know, splitting the weight in such a manner makes no sense. What I want, again, is effectiveness. In whatever it is I'm carrying, I want it to be effective. Okay, if this sort of blade is effective, perfectly. I don't have much of an issue between carrying this one or having the one previously showed to you, the cold steel one. It's not something that I go nuts over. In terms of flashlight, moving over to flashlights, some options, for example, this one, or the smaller this is the 4.7's Quark Mini 123. Very nice flashlight, has several different modes, 3 basic modes. Then there's hidden modes. Once you cycle 3 times through these modes, you go into strobe, SOS, and such. Very nice flashlight for its size. It's extremely compact. Again, does it make much sense for me to carry something as small as this as my pocket flashlight when I could be carrying something that is much more effective and much more practical if I ever need more power in a flashlight? This is my keychain flashlight, guys. This isn't what I carry exclusively as a flashlight. This would be mostly a backup flashlight, in my opinion. It would be what I end up using if something goes wrong with the main one that I'm carrying, which is this one. Now, why do I prefer this one, that it's the 4.7's Quark 123 tactical flashlight? Well, because tactical, at least in this case, is well employed, the word, because it does give you a strategic advantage in certain circumstances, which the Mini 123 twisty operation mode user interface doesn't allow. I mean, it's just as these two are similar in terms of lumens and power, right? They both use the 123 batteries. They both have, I think it's R5 emitters, around 200 lumens and such. But the user interface in this one doesn't allow a type of use that the tactical one does. I learned that through experience in one particular occasion where I needed to use my gun along with my flashlight, and I found that it's impossible to operate this sort of flashlight effectively along with a gun, right? You do need the clicky, the permanent, yeah, it was a bit unscrewed there, the clicky user interface. You know, lightly tapping on the clicky turns it on, always on its maximum output. That's exactly what you need on a tactical flashlight. Alright, that's what you have in some of the better known Surefire's flashlight that are intended for tactical purposes. You have the clicky like this one that just tapping on it turns it on. So you're moving around with your gun, you need to keep quiet and take advantage of the darkness, but all of a sudden you need to identify something or to surprise someone that is trying to sneak on you. You need to be able to quickly maneuver your options, right? To quickly turn it on and off depending on what it is that you need right that second. You don't have time to go doing this, and it's not an option to move around with your light turned on at all times when using a gun and trying to be discreet. So for that reason, because it offers more capabilities than the smaller guy, I go for this one, for the tactical Quark Mini 123 flashlight. And if I'm not using it for something as urgent as defensive purposes, this flashlight also has the option of lightly unscrewing it a bit. That gets you into the low mode, which is I think around 10 lumens and such. The low mode is effective for the general purposes, the general task you would be using your flashlight for. That's just ideal for it. But on everyday carry, I keep it on screwed completely in its maximum output, because thinking about it for a second, what is more of an urgent need? I mean, unscrewing it a quarter and using the low mode, or just, you know, struggling quickly getting out of your pocket and going into maximum output. That's the one that I have set as preset in my flashlight. Again, why go for something that is smaller, something that is less effective, when you can have something like this one, something that will offer much more capabilities? The gun you carry with you, maybe that's one of the points I have a more different opinion regarding what some other people think. I mean, even when reading on gun magazines and such, you open a gun rack these days and half of it is, you know, EDC carry guns or concealed carry guns, which are small guns which are underpowered in many cases, which don't offer as much capacity as a gun this size would be offering. You know, I just don't get it. I don't understand. It doesn't compute in my brain that people will be willingly carrying something that offers them less power, less capacity, that it's harder to use in extreme conditions. Guys, those of you that actually do train, you know what I mean. You do train usually with something like this, right? With a Glock 17, a Glock 19, or something very similar to it. And you end up later carrying a Kel-Tec 380 or a Kel-Tec 9mm with 8 rounds only. It's this small little thing that you have to make a clear effort to shoot accurately and fast, and you don't even want to see one of those when compared to other people. Why is it that you don't see any of those in practical shooting? Why is that? Is it, if it's so effective and if it's the same thing as this one, if it's the same thing as the real deal, why is it that you don't see it in police officers' holsters? Why is it that you don't see it in any military unit being carried either? Those are the questions that you should probably be asking yourself. Well, I'm a civilian, and since I'm a civilian, I'm only gonna be assaulted by stupid 17-year-old that doesn't even know how to operate a weapon, and he's gonna be coming after me with this underpowered gun that isn't going to work. So I don't need anything more than my little concealed carry gun that fits in my front pocket. I don't need any more because I'm a civilian. What the hell are you talking about? What is it that makes you think that because you're a civilian you're gonna be in such an advantage when your life is being threatened? Again, probably it's different realities, guys. Down here we don't have that sort of luck. We are usually in a disadvantage. Maybe not in terms of the quality of weapons carried, but there are plenty of high capacity 9mm in the hands of criminals around here. So that's not a terrific advantage, and we're usually outnumbered. We're usually facing 2, 3, 4 guys, and right away, as soon as you say that, someone says, well, if 3 guys are coming after me or 4 guys are coming after me, then I already lost. Then that's a hopeless situation. And it's not. It's not, because it's been proven time and again that if you have the adequate training, if you have the adequate weapon, guys, and yeah, just a bit of luck as well, because that's important, and that's something that we cannot control. But why go over things we cannot control, but instead of going through the ones we can? The type of training you get and the type of weapon you carry, that you control. That's not an excuse. So thinking that the situation is already hopeless, that's stupid, because it's been proven time and again that people with a rational amount of training, in some cases people with very little training, just basic training, they managed to win against 3, 4, 5 criminals. It happened recently with a police officer from the Metropolitan Police shooting it out in a bus full of people. Not only he managed not to kill anyone that he wasn't supposed to, he killed 2 of the attackers, sending the other 3 ones running away for their lives. It's not always a happy story. We lost a good friend of ours, Hernan. He got killed in his house. Like I always tell you guys, when entering and leaving your house, that's gonna be the key moment of risk for you in the future, if it's not already now. I'm getting significant amount of emails from people telling me, you talked about this just last week, and it's happening where I live now. One of my neighbors, he got killed during a home invasion when entering his house. It's already happening. So that's another point. There's not an official shit hit the fan day. There's no shit hit the fan email notice for you guys to understand that, well, as of now, it's good to do everything you've been thinking about or everything you've been training for. It's now. It's today. It's right now as you're watching this. There's never gonna be an official end of rule of law day, guys. It's never gonna be happening. Don't ever expect that. It's stupid. Please don't be stupid. Use your head and understand that these things will happen to you when you think they won't. I mean, you're gonna be coming back home from a hard day in the office, and you went to Walmart or whatever supermarket you choose, bought a few things, heading back home tired, and you know what? That day you will not be ready for it. You will be, yeah, today I'm kind of tired and I'm carrying all these bags. I don't feel like getting mugged or getting attacked right now. And it doesn't matter, because you don't control any of that. That's when you get screwed. That's when you're gonna be getting attacked, when you're not expecting it, when you're not ready for it. So the only way is, without getting nuts, without getting paranoid, without going nuts over it, having a minimum standard of what it is that you do to prepare for, right? And that's, in my opinion, where things, part ways. That's where talkers keep talking, and people that do these things because of a hobby, because of entertainment, because of the coolness of it, they go one way, and the people that actually have an awareness level, that actually understand that their life may be at risk, but they still choose to keep on living their lives, but understanding that possibility, that those folks go another way. And those folks take these things all more seriously. No one that takes self-defense seriously is going to be bitching over how much a knife weighs, how much a gun weighs, how uncomfortable it is, this gun over that one. Guys, it's about effectiveness. Do you carry something that is effective or do you not? Alright? If you're serious about this, carry something that works, carry something that is effective, carry something that you train with. Okay? This holster, Blade Tech holster, this is the same one I use in training. And if you've seen my crappy little action shooting video, I use this one. And I have it covered with my jacket as well. Okay? It is so stupid to use something that's going to be making you look good on video and fast and all that bullshit and not carry it later on. Okay? Am I going to be using a vest with a easily accessible holster when I don't carry it? What use is that practice for me? Is that practice of how much use for me if I'm not carrying that with me daily? Be more reasonable. Don't go to extremes. Don't carry a soldier's gear for training and looking tactical, cool and such, and being fast with a holster that is just a couple of inches away from your hand, you know. And then when you have to dress up like a normal person, you end up carrying a freaking little thing that isn't of much use. Okay? Be reasonable, live your life happily, but have an inside the waistband holster with a real gun, you know, a Glock, the 17, the 19. If you're good with it, with the smaller ones, the chopped one guns, the smaller subcompact Glocks, if you're really good with that, and if you use that for training, and I mean always, guys, not only when doing a little video for YouTube, I mean always, honestly, I mean, this is about you and your family. This isn't about looking cool in front of others. This isn't about looking cool for the guys on YouTube. This is about you and being honest with yourself. You're not kidding anyone if you practice with this gun and end up carrying something else, or if you use the subcompact Glock and you know you carry the subcompact Glock but don't use it for actual training. You're not kidding anyone other but yourself. So you know, yeah, it is heavy, dudes. Yes, it has a certain amount of weight. Everything does. Gorilla Tape, it has weight. Everything has some weight. I understand that there's some gear that is unnecessarily heavy, and if you have the same characteristics, if you have the same capabilities with one blade that is of a certain weight, and the other one is exactly as capable as that one, but much heavier, all right, you got me there. I agree with you, and it makes no sense to go with something small and light. Why go with something small and light that is useless when, you know, I get it, not getting stupid with the weight. And I've backpacked myself a good amount for many days, and I understand that weight does pile up a lot. I mean, cutting even your toothbrush as to reduce weight, reducing your weight as much as possible, but never at the cost of having less capable stuff, less capable tools with you, folks. Never do that. Never give up capabilities and effectiveness because of weight or because of comfort. Comfort shouldn't even be in your language, folks. No one that I knew that got shot or shot someone else ever wished for a smaller gun. Our friend Hernan that got killed in just a couple of weeks ago when entering his house, he got surprised by a couple of guys. He wasn't armed. That was his greatest mistake. He wasn't armed. He was pushed inside his house, and once inside, one of the bad guys, he started searching while the other one kept him at gunpoint, and he found a 10mm of his. He found his 10mm pistol that he kept in a drawer, along with some knives, because Hernan was also a hunter, and you know, he was one of the guys. He was an enthusiast about shooting, about knives and all this sort of stuff. So as soon as they found his gun, he shouted to the other bad guy that was keeping him at gunpoint, shoot him, kill him. And this one, he fired a Versa that didn't work. Apparently it didn't work, or maybe it didn't have a round chambered. The thing is, Hernan struggled with his attacker. The other one went went around his back and shot him in the back with his own 10mm. Then he stabbed him in the back as well, and when he was falling, they shot him again in the chest, killing him. It's one of those things that happen, one of those tragedies that you think, man, if only he had a weapon with him, if only he had his gun. And Hernan was a great shooter. He usually ranked top of his division in practical and action shooting. He was a very good shooter, and I have little doubt that if he had been armed, he would have done much better. And now you may be thinking, rule number 1, have a gun with you, so I carry this piece of crap with me. No, here we all carry something like this. Here we all go for 17, 19, rarely something smaller than 19, because of what I was saying before, because you must train with what you carry. You cannot train with a certain gun and then carry something else. And just take a look at all those. There's tons of videos on YouTube. Take a look at the training videos on YouTube, like Tactical Response with James Yeager, which is a great guy, with Suarez, Gabe Suarez as well. Look at those guns. Look at the guns people are carrying in those classes. Do you see crappy little concealed carry January 2010 Guns and Ammo front page gun? No, you see the same old thing all the time. You see something that works, something that has enough capacity, enough stopping power. 9mm with effective jack and hollow points, and 17 rounds or 15 rounds at your disposal. That's acceptable. That's something that if you're shooting it out with 3-4 guys, you have enough firepower. If you're trying to get to escape a confrontation like this guy Rico, a politician that he was military before that, did during a couple of times already. You're talking about a guy that survived confrontations with armed attackers, outnumbered by 5 to 1. You know, him driving along with his wife, being a car being pulled in front of him with 5 guys, and he starts shooting and he survives twice, guys, not once, twice. Why is that? Because Rico is effectively a tough son of a bitch. You're not going to be taking him down easily. He's going to be putting lots of rounds in your direction if you try to kill him, and that's usually effective. Okay? That's usually effective. If you put a good number of rounds in the direction of the people that are trying to hurt you, that usually works. Now, you do need a certain amount of rounds. You do need a certain amount of firepower to do that. Okay? Again, not once, twice. In just a couple of years. The guy, the last time I think he got wounded in a leg, he came laughing out of the hospital. You know, what type of guy is that? Yeah, but he's, you know what? Maybe he's not nearly as trained as you are, or as I am, but he has a determination to stay alive that isn't shared by people that don't make his same choices. You're never gonna be catching this guy with anything less than a real effective firearm on his person at all times. You know, that makes a lot of a difference. Right tool, right mindset, that's basically what it comes down to. Guys, this is getting pretty long, and I think it's a good conversation, or a good monologue in this case. I'll be cutting it right now and doing a part 2, continuing talking about all this stuff, and just, you know, using the EDC stuff so as to kick off more conversation. See you on part 2.